There is a kind of advertising that money cannot buy, and small charities are sitting on a pile of it without ever realizing. It is the local newspaper, the community radio slot, the neighborhood group with 10,000 members, the regional news site that half the town reads over breakfast. A single mention in any of them can bring you donors, volunteers, and a kind of trust that no paid advertisement can match, and it costs you nothing but a well-written email. Yet most small charities never try, because press coverage feels like something that happens to bigger, shinier organizations with a public relations department. It is not. Local media runs on exactly the kind of story your charity produces every single week. This video is about how to earn that coverage, step by step, without a budget, without a press office, and without a single connection to start from. Why local news actually wants your story. Let us clear up the biggest misunderstanding first, the one that stops people before they begin. You are not begging a busy newsroom for a favor. You are offering them something they genuinely need. Local outlets have to fill pages and airtime every day, and most of them are running on shrinking teams with fewer reporters than ever, which means they are hungry for good stories that are rooted in the community they serve. A warm, human, local tale of people helping people is precisely the sort of thing their readers love and their reporters rarely have time to go and find. Your charity generates those stories constantly. So walk in, or rather write in, as someone with something useful to give, not something to ask for. Once you truly believe that a good story is a gift to a local journalist and not an imposition on them, the whole task stops feeling like cheek and starts feeling like the fair exchange it actually is. Find the right people to pitch. The next mistake is to think of the media as one big faceless thing and to fire a message at the general inbox that nobody reads. Instead, find the specific people who cover the kind of story you have. Look at your local newspaper and notice who writes the community and human interest pieces. Think of your community radio station, the hyperlocal news site, the neighborhood social media groups, even a well-followed local blogger who cares about your patch. The journalist who wrote a lovely piece about another charity last month is far more likely to write about yours than a stranger on the national desk. So do a little detective work, read what they publish, and find the real human being whose job it is to tell exactly the sort of story you are sitting on. A message aimed at a named person who covers your subject will always beat 100 messages sprayed at nobody in particular. Build a simple media list. Once you start finding those people, keep them, because this is an asset you build once and use for years. A media list sounds grand, but it is just a simple spreadsheet. One row per contact, and a handful of columns. The outlet, the specific person's name, their email, what kind of stories they cover, and a note of any past contact. Keep it small, local, and relevant rather than long and random, because a dozen well-chosen contacts who genuinely cover your world are worth more than 100 names you scraped from a website. Add to it whenever you spot a new reporter or outlet, and update it when people move on, as they often do. With this quiet little list in place, the next time you have news, you are not starting from scratch and scrambling. You already know exactly who to tell, and telling them takes minutes instead of days. What makes a story newsworthy? Now, not everything your charity does is a news story, and knowing the difference will save you from crying wolf. A reporter is asking one question: why should my readers care about this today? And your job is to answer it before they ask. There are 4 ingredients that turn ordinary work into news, and the more of them you have, the stronger your story. The first is a milestone, an anniversary, 1,000th meal served, a big target reached. The second is a person, a real human being at the heart of it, because people care about people far more than about organizations. The third is a local angle, something that makes it clearly and proudly about this town, these streets, our neighbors. And the fourth is timeliness, a reason it matters right now, tied to a season, an event, or something already in the news. Find one or more of these in what you are doing and you have a story. Miss all 4 and you have an update that only you find interesting. And there is no shame in waiting for the right moment, because a charity that pitches only when it genuinely has a story earns a name for being worth reading, while one that cries wolf every week is soon ignored. Write a short press release that lands. When you have a real story, put it in a short, clear press release, and think of it as doing the reporter's first draft for them. Keep it to a single page. Start with a clear, plain headline that captures the hook. Then open with the human angle in the first line or two, the way a news story actually begins, not with the history of your charity. Include a short quote from you or, even better, from the person at the center of the story, because a good quote is something a journalist can lift straight into their piece. Give the key facts plainly, the who, what, when, where, and why, so nothing important is missing. And end with your contact details and an offer of more, a photograph, an interview, a case study. Write it in ordinary human language with no jargon and no breathless hype, so that a busy reporter on a deadline could almost run it as it stands. The easier you make their job, the more likely your story is to appear. Advertise in turn pre-case tantamaisan. Here is the pitch most charities send. Our charity does important work in the community and we would really like some coverage of what we do. It is worthy, it is vague, and it gives a reporter absolutely nothing to work with, so it goes straight in the bin. Now here is the same charity with a real story. This Saturday, a 78-year-old volunteer named Margaret will serve her 10,000th hot meal at our community kitchen, on the very same street where she first walked in for help herself, 20 years ago. In one sentence, it has a person, a milestone, a strong local angle, a reason it is happening now, and the quote and the photo waiting to be gathered. You did not invent a thing. You simply found the story that was already there and told the reporter what it was, instead of asking them to guess. Pitch by email without being annoying. With your release ready, send it, and send it like a considerate human being. Email is almost always the right channel, so write a short personal note to your named reporter. Use their actual name and give it a clear, specific subject line that is itself a headline. Put the heart of the story in the first two sentences, because that is all a busy journalist will read before deciding. Then offer to make their life easier, with photos and interview or access to the people involved. Keep the whole thing brief and respectful of their time. And then, crucially, do not nag. One polite follow-up a few days later is perfectly fine, but calling repeatedly or firing off reminders will get you quietly blocked. Respect their deadlines and their silence. And if they pass on this story, thank them anyway, and stay warm, because there will be another story next month, and you want the door left open. Build relationships and be ready for interviews. The real prize here is not one article, but an ongoing relationship. So play the long game. Reporters are people doing a hard job, so treat them like it. When someone runs your story, thank them sincerely. Be the source who is easy to work with, who replies quickly, who never wastes their time, who tells the truth. Do that a few times and you become their go-to for anything in your corner of the world, and they start coming to you. And when the coverage does come and someone wants to interview you, be ready. Know the 2 or 3 key things you want to say. Keep them human and simple, speak in plain words rather than mission statements, and always bring it back to the people you help. Decide in advance who speaks for your charity so you are never caught flat-footed. One honest note before we finish. This channel is educational only, and it is not legal, tax, or media law advice, and it is not affiliated with any outlet, platform, or program. Always get people's permission before you share their story or photograph. Handle everyone's personal information with care, and check the rules that apply where you operate against the official current source. Quick recap. Let us bring it together. Believe, first, that a good story is a gift to a local newsroom, not a favor you are begging. Find the specific people who cover your kind of story, and keep them on a simple media list you build once and use for years. Learn what makes a story newsworthy, a milestone, a person, a local angle, and the reason it matters now, and only pitch when you truly have one. Write a short, clear press release that does the reporter's first draft for them, and send it in a brief, personal, non-annoying email. Then build real relationships. Thank the people who run your story, and be ready and human when the interview comes. Local coverage is one of the great bargains available to a small charity. It reaches people you could never afford to advertise to. It lends you a credibility that money cannot buy, and it turns strangers across your town into supporters who feel they already know you. You cannot promise yourself that any single pitch will land, and no honest person would, because a reporter's day is unpredictable, and the news never stops moving. But learn to spot your real stories, tell them plainly to the right people, and treat those people well. And over time, the coverage will come, and it will keep coming. If this way of thinking is useful to you, subscribe for more practical charity marketing you can actually use. And take a look at the companion written guide linked below, where I lay these steps out in more detail. I will keep turning them into calm, doable steps, one video at a time.